Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey My Mother's Son podcast. Today I'm joined with a fellow author, healer, spiritual guide, and musician, Emma Rowena. Emma, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Looking forward to this conversation. But before we get started, just introduce yourself in your own words. Who is Emma today?
Who is Emma today? Emma is a composite of many things. I'm a infinite soul in a body, as I usually say, but I'm on this earth also a musician and a performer, as you said, and a spiritual guide and healer, energy healer, which is something I opened up to later in my life. I'm a mother of a boy of 16. And I'm also an author about to release my first book, which is also dedicated to my son. And I am an emerging social entrepreneur. I'm based in Norway, born in England. So I'm bicultural, bilingual, and also have years in the US and in Cuba as a child. So I have a lot of sort of different cultures with me on my journey. And I've emerged. I've been on a journey from fear and anxiety to loving life and empowerment and wanting to show my son that it's possible to thrive, even though life and the world is a bit crazy at times.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an extended version of who I am.
No, I love it. And again, I mean, this is a conversation I've really been looking forward to having since we first connected. um, because I think there's a definite synergy here from a podcast host who, is the son of a mother who is, dedicating the show to his mother's legacy, to a mother who has written a book, dedicating it to her son. So, so much to unpack with you, but let's just start right off with the book and the really the thesis behind the book of, why you wrote it and what is the message um, in the book to your son? Tell me about that.
Phew, okay. I touched upon it, but uh, in why did I start it? I've had this nagging voice in me saying I should write a book, and I was sort of using my brain to try and figure out what should I write about until suddenly I just decided to start, and I started, and it developed into this testimony for my son of my journey, as I said, from a place of fear and confusion, like so many people in the world, and so many young people, so many children and young people who sort of grow up in this world with fear and they lose hope, seeing everything that's sort of going wrong. And it developed into a testimony showing him how you can actually find the hope, find the power to make the world and your life a better life simply by connecting to who you are, simply by coming back home to yourself. That's the big essence of my book and of my own journey. And I sort of share how I've developed my story, but also how I worked because I have clients, reading clients, so I help them to connect to their own essence, to their heart, um, if they're open also to more of a greater picture, the spirituality, and but it's all up to who they are. And this is the same for the young people. Who are they? What do they want to believe in? What do they want to embrace? What belief systems do they want to govern their lives today? Because we adopt belief systems, they're not necessarily true for us.
Yeah.
And yeah, and this has been a big discovery for me and something that I want to bring forward, yes, to my son and to his peers, and then also to parents who can make shifts in their own lives and be good examples and guides for their children in maybe a different way than we think, not by telling them what to do and who to be, but by being who we can be and showing them, here, look, you can actually find your own way by listening to yourself. So that's a big, big focus for me in my life and in the book and in the music, actually.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, the truth of the matter is we truly do find what we're looking for. So if we surround ourselves with that negative energy that's in the world today, we're going to find it. Like we're
Yeah.
we're going to find it. So you really have to go out and seek that positive energy. Something that, you know, we've, you know, we've found since we've been traveling, full time in the RV is that just, um, you know, surrounding yourself with positive people just
Yeah. Yeah.
totally changes your perspective of the world. And that doesn't mean that there's still not craziness
No, no.
going on. It's just
There is.
it's just a perspective shift, and really, you know, understanding that you can make your own way. So, what your own journey, tell me a little bit about what you went through to bring yourself to a place where you've surrounded yourself in that positive energy and you know shutting out the negativity, so to speak.
Well, shutting out or actually dealing with it there and realizing that it's not something I want to keep
Yeah,
bringing into my life. So, I mean, as you say, there's still crazy stuff going on. There's still old stories coming. I've moved back to my old childhood society, community, and there's still old stories coming, but I can face them from a different place because I'm embracing a different perspective. So this is the healing we all can do. And my journey came from, I grew up in this Norwegian community. Out of it, I didn't fit in anywhere. And there was a lot of disruption in the family. But I did one thing, so I sort of felt I didn't fit in anywhere. And then I started playing the piano. My father used to play the piano. He didn't dare to become a pianist because his parents wouldn't let him. But he always played, and I always used to listen to him, and it was my big inspiration. So I decided to pursue the musical career as well. But I was trained in the classical way and told to play the right way. And I don't know, a lot of, especially women, I think, in my generation, have been shown and told to be good girls and do the right thing. And I think it's interesting that your mother, she sort of, I read your story, how she decided to break through and do her own thing.
yeah,
Didn't do that. I didn't have the guts to do that at that time. And in Norway, we didn't really do that very much. But not in my generation anyway. And so I played the piano and I performed, but with a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear and stage fright and low self-confidence and always thinking somebody was judging me and trying to sort of prove that I was good enough in everything in life. But it was very, very clear when it came to the music. That's where it sort of stood out because I had to be on stage and people had to look at me. And then I had my son, and he's 16. And I started discovering that I could not continue living the way I did with that mindset. I wanted to find a way of becoming a better mother, also a better person for myself and for everybody. And I started I started searching and asking questions. And I was curious, is there more out there than what I think about me and the world? I started opening up and I attended this course where I was shown how I could connect to my intuition and my ability to see and sense what is in me, what is around me, and how to connect to other people at a different level than from fear or judgment or. And then there was a big breakup in my life. I had quite a devastating breakup, which also forced me to start searching and to find ways of handling my pain and my fear. And through that, also embracing my son, of course, doing my best, trying to be a mother in a crisis, both for me and for him. And it was hard, but my opening up to the greater picture and to the inner voice was the big salvation for me, if you like. It helped me to understand how I can embrace myself no matter what happened. And in that sense, I could also embrace and hold my son as much as I could. I mean, any parent makes mistakes, of course, and I did, but my son is he's we have a very, very close relationship, and he's taught me a lot because he has questioned and he has told me how he's responded to me in a very, very beautiful way when he feels that I'm being irrational or whatever. But he also showed me clearly how he can come and ask for an embrace when the conflict is too difficult. He can ask to be held. And so I learned that, even in a conflict, you can actually ask to be close to somebody, or you can connect and you can surrender and you can embrace each other. So many beautiful processes happening there. And so he's been my great teacher, really, my son. That's one of the reasons I've dedicated the book to him, but it's also my gift of guidance if he wants to embrace it. You can never force guidance on anyone, right?
Yeah.
You only sort of invite people in. But it's for him, and then also for adults and other people who are seeking, who are searching to find a way of moving around in life and connecting to people in a beautiful way. It sounds like you found your way of doing it, which is amazing. Not a lot of people, or at least in Norway, I think it depends a little bit on the culture or where you're from, but not everybody dares to sort of break up and go and find their own route.
Right.
Um, so it was inspiring to read your story when you on the page there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think, one of the things you said there, I think is so important. Um, when you talked about allowing your son to embrace it if he wants, because again, I think so many times in this world, in this society, like we're told this is the only
Yeah.
way to do this. This is the only way to happiness. This is the only way to success. And that's just so untrue. Like we're all individuals, Um, God gave us all our own free will, so to allow him to have that freedom of, here's a blueprint,
Yeah.
and maybe he'll take, 30% of what's in that blueprint and use it as his own and develop his own, or maybe he'll take 50 or 80 or who knows, but allowing him that ability to take what he needs and use it, I think is so uh incredible, So was there a point in your own life where you realize that there isn't one way to do it, where you were like, wait, okay, these are ways, but I got to find my way? Was there like a certain moment, or was it just an evolution?
An evolution, but I think it became very clear as I wrote the book. It's been an evolution, especially as I started working with other people and clients and listening to this and see. And there are, what should I say, common denominators. We all have a heart. We all have a body and energies and whatever and fears. And there are certain things that match up. But I find there are a lot of ideas out there that on postulations of how, as you say, this you should do this and you'll be happy, or this is how you become a free soul, or this is how you manifest, or whatever it is. A lot of it out there now. And I write it in my book. I say, okay, this is what I offer. Don't even listen to me if it doesn't resonate. Please don't take it if it doesn't resonate. Listen to what resonates with you. But you can find aspects there and there and there because we are sort of similar stuff. So we all have aspects that can resonate with somebody. But none of us, and this is also something I say, not one of us, this is my postulation, this is what I believe, not one of us holds the entire truth.
Yeah.
The only truth is out there. And we cannot see it because we're humans. But that's the beauty as well, in a way, because we can explore and we can find our color, our hue, our variation of that divine light, if you like, or color, or of being human. And when you start, that just came to me now, actually, thank you, just listening and speaking to you. When you start finding your own colors, then you become curious about the other colors,
Yeah.
or umbre, as I call it, which is like a sound or hue or qualities that people have.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And parenthood in its own right is just an ever,
Yeah.
ever changing, journey of evolution in its own right. I remember one time, um, my brother and I were talking, and he was like, just when you think you've mastered how to be a parent to a 1-year-old, now you're trying to figure out how to be a parent to a 2-year-old. And then when you master that, now you're figuring out how to
Yeah.
be a parent to a 3-year-old. So as, you said your son's 16 now, so he's, creeping closer and closer toward adulthood and spreading his own wings and getting out on his own. Um, what are some of your um, biggest challenges of going through that and kind of letting go as a mother?
Yes, I've had to really, really sit with that lately because what happened in our life was that 2 years ago his father suffered a severe stroke. So and we sort of pulled him through it, but he's a little bit hindered by it still. But it meant that my son and I were very close. I had him 100% with him for nearly 2 years, for a year and a half. And he started now wanting to live more with his dad, and I had to move to a different place. And suddenly I was facing, oh my goodness, I have to let go of this young man. And he's his own man or boy, but he's moving into becoming a man very much. Fortunately, it's become more of a dynamic journey than I feared because I have to say that, and I wrote that in the book as well. I was terrified of what do I do when he's out of my world, my daily world. But I mean, it's back and forth. I still sort of thought that at 16 it was a bit early to let him go. But a lot of 16 year olds go out there on their own, so it's not necessarily that. I have to help him a bit still because of his living with a father who struggles with managing a few things. But um, and I love that. So I get the time. I'm given the time to process it, and I'm given the time to release it. And I have passions and visions that I'm working towards. The book is one thing, but I also have a vision of working. I also saw that you've worked with kids yourself, or I have a vision of working with young people and kids, and which is also why this book became for that group sort of in a way a testimony to them, because I want to work with helping young people to find that inner voice and their own empowerment and self-confidence in trusting their own individuality, their own visions, their own ideas. I mean, listening to the young, listening to
Yeah,
your son is amazing if you dare to do it. Just step back a bit and wow, what's coming out of this young person? There's a lot of stuff, fantastic stuff coming out. If we just dare to stop and listen and trust that we don't have to be in control. Um,
I
so
love that. I
yeah.
love that because I've said many times that my players that I've coached, that I'd coached for 30 years, I had learned more from them than I ever taught to them. And again, I think when people embrace that, you know, teaching and coaching is a relationship, it's not, again, being a mentor, again, it's a relationship. It's a give and take. You're learning things from them as they are from you. And I'll just one little example. I remember, we had a huge organization at one point, and we ran a sports complex, and there were all kinds of moving parts. And I remember one Saturday morning, we were getting ready for a tournament, and we had a couple of our staff call off, and things weren't going great. And um, this one little, you know, 12-year-old player of ours, he gets there in the morning, and he's smiling, and I'm a little grumpy, quite honest, because of all the things that have gone wrong, and it's not even 8 o'clock in the morning yet. And I said to him, I'm like, hey, Juan, how are you doing today? He's like, well, coach, I woke up this morning, so that's a good thing. And it kind of like stopped me in my tracks because I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? Of all the things
Yeah.
that have gone wrong, it could have been worse. And here was this 12-year-old, you know, kid at the time who kind of had to show me, you know, to brighten up. So, I think when you go into a teaching moment, understanding that, you know, you're going to learn as well, I think is a great way to approach it. Um, so, again, for you, embracing that, um, and wanting to, tell me a little bit more about this vision that
Yeah.
you want to create for the youth.
But I have this a strong experience, if you like, that the young generation now, they have so much strength and power in them, and they have so much light in them if it's allowed to shine and if they're allowed to express it. So I wanted to create a center in Central Europe, so in France, where I've had some connections, and a beautiful sort of safe space where the children and young people of different cultures, both refugees, European refugees in France, but also connecting with up here in Norway and bringing them down and working together, finding their unique passions or dreams or expressions, working with music and art and activities and nature, connecting with nature and food and nourishment. A lot of young people, they don't understand the beauty of, wow, we can enjoy the food, we can create colorful meals or whatever, and animals. And bring them together and make through the year, build towards a yearly festival where they get to bring their own cultural expressions and music and stories. And we create a whole with professional musicians and performers and artists and have exhibitions and work with the local community. So it's like a whole. A friend of mine said it's almost like a medieval marketplace in a way. So bringing together different art forms, but with the young as the guiding premise, and they're trying to find where's your expression? What do you want to do? Oh, you like to be quiet. Okay, why don't you move quietly in here and bring or maybe you want to bring a painting to the performance. You like to express yourself. Okay, let's come forward. Who feels comfortable being leaders? And yes, challenge them, but it's like a team sport, and sports has that. You find the qualities and you make use of the best qualities of each of them so that they work together. It's interesting, actually. My son, he used to play basketball, and that was interesting to watch because he's not pushy. He's not the kind of a typical boy who pushes through. And so he sort of fell behind a little bit. And then he changed to volleyball. And he found that was so dependent on working together all the time. It was perfect for him. And finding that quality was exactly what they needed in the volleyball game. Whereas in basketball, for the team to work together was a little harder, actually, because there were a few very brilliant ones who sort of went the whole route by themselves. And that challenge of finding, okay, yes, you've got that quality, but you've got everybody with you. And
Yeah.
I find music, especially, a very powerful way of bringing this forward, as well as sports. But
I agree.
um, yeah, it's and everybody has, whether it's a lullaby or a childhood song or a cultural, some folk song, whatever, that they relate to and that they can bring forward their own colors, their own story as well. So this is my vision and passion. I just need a big space for it.
Right.
So
Right. No, I love it. And I agree completely that I've always said that, sports, arts, and music are, the one common denominator that will always bring people together. You
yeah,
know, um, all of a sudden there's someone who you think you have nothing in common with, and you hear a song and you're both singing it together, And again, it doesn't matter the genre. There's just music can transport you through time, where you hear a song, you're like, oh man, I remember when this song came on when this happened, whether good or bad. I mean, there's songs I listen that will, almost bring me to tears because of I'm remembering something that happened while listening to that song or something, like that. So I love that concept of, using the arts mediums to bring kids together because it really does break down those cultural barriers and the societal barriers that we're told this is why we shouldn't like this type of person.
and also, yeah, and also because somebody said, "Don't you want to just do it for girls?" And I said, "No, I don't want to do it just for girls. I want the kids to meet together, and I find that respect for each other, like you said, different cultural stratas or whatever of the society, and also genders, and what. But to me, it's a big peace project. So what you just said is exactly that. It's discovering how we can meet no matter who. And that's a
Yeah,
big peace
yeah,
project, I think, this world, and we need it.
Yeah, we sure do. We sure do. We love it. I definitely want to see how that comes together for you because I love the concept for sure. Um, so let's talk about, shift gears a little bit and let's just talk about your musical background. You said how, you know, there were times where you were very anxious while playing and, discovering, you know, again, and maybe it's more in classical than other forms of music where there's they try to tell you there's a right way to do it. So how tough was it to break through that? Because again, it's classical is a little bit of a different genre where it seems, and I love listening to classical music. I've got a very broad taste in music, um, but it's not like, rock and roll was, all about freedom of expression and, blues and folk music, storytelling. Um, so to really find your own way in classical, I mean, tell me about that journey.
Yeah. It was quite a struggle for me because, as I said, I was very stuck in doing it right, but I was also very stuck in playing the score, the musical score, the notes. So for me, it was hard to even sit down and play a C major chord without having it written up in front of me at some point. And my dad, he was a jazz pianist. He actually played when he was young. He played all around in Norway and in the UK where he studied. So he would play that a lot, and I at some point thought maybe I would pursue that direction, but I was too stuck in the scores. Now, having said that, I also had some fantastic experiences performing this with great opera singers mainly, but also other instruments. Um, and fantastic music, and I still love the music. And some people I admire and I honor all the musicians who manage to sort of let go of the rules and bring their passion into it. And some people really do that, and I think those are the big stars. But I knew that I wanted to make my own music, and after my breakup with my ex, we had it took before that I had decided that I was going to make my own music, but then I had went through all this grief and the process through that, and it took until the pandemic actually before I sat down and actually played my own stuff. And I started again, as I did with the book. I started with one tone because I had so much music in my head, but I didn't know where to start. How do you create this big music from nothing? And I've never made it. And so okay, I've got to start somewhere. I started with a tone and started listening to where that went. And it ended up being an album of improvised music with maybe a classical turn. It's a little bit hard to place, I think. Meditative music. There's a waltz in there. And improvised it and then sort of shaped it and I continue doing that. Now I'm considering also expanding a little bit from just doing the solo piano. But what happened was that I discovered that I could enjoy playing in a different way because it was my choice. It was my voice, if you like.
Mhm.
Uh, so that's been my journey so far. And as I created this in the pandemic, nobody could really perform. I did two concerts in the pandemic. We managed to pull through that um, with people sitting, and it was great. But um, since then, I haven't really performed very much because I haven't found the venue that I wanted to start and get it rolling with yet. So I'm still working on that. But there's more music coming now. So
Yeah,
I won't be recording classical music, but I'll probably come back to playing it from a different place now.
yeah. So you did
And my
say that.
son's playing piano now. He started studying music, but he's doing it from a different place because I refuse to push him.
I love that.
And so he's now exploring. I mean, the way all the jazz musicians were doing when I was young. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And again, that is, probably the bravest part of parenting is just, you know, letting, letting your child go. I mean, my mom told me a long time ago that God only requires us to do two things as a parent. That's teach your children how to walk and how to walk away.
Yeah.
And she said that
Perfect.
the second one is a hell of a lot tougher than the first. So,
Yes. Yeah.
um, but
Perfect. That's beautiful. Thank you. I'll take that
yeah,
with me.
yeah. So the two concerts that you did perform,
Mm.
um, what sort of butterflies and then anxiety were you dealing with getting out on the stage and, saying, "This is me"?
That was interesting actually. What reminded me of something because I started preparing for the concert with the same stress that I had done. But at the time, I was actually in working with this coach on a little different matter. But uh, um, I told her about this, and it felt heavy, and I didn't know how to. And she said, "Stop, stop, don't." She was a musician as well, but she was coaching me on something else. And she said, don't ever sit, you know this stuff. Don't sit by the piano unless you really want to. If it feels heavy, if you feels forced, stop, because that's your old story. Okay, right. So I thought, okay, I won't touch the piano. And it took about 10 minutes and I couldn't help myself and I had to sit down and play. And then and then a week later the first concert was, and I was sitting there at the backstage and I thought, okay, what do I do now? What do I do? Okay, I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna have fun. Yes, okay, let's go have some fun. And I had a lot of fun. And the audience had fun. And there was magic and there was quiet, but there was also humor. And I talked a lot. I like talking. Oops, sorry, I have a puppy who just joked here.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was. But deciding to have fun, I went in and said, "Okay, guys, with whoever is out there or God, or let's have some fun." And I went in and had a lot of fun, and I
Cha-
could listen. And I only had one little moment that I felt, "What am I doing? Or what if I miss something?" And then, okay, no, we're having fun.
Yeah.
So, yes.
It comes back to that change of perspective, you know. If you go into it with that mission of having fun, you can have fun, allowing yourself, allowing yourself. I think that's such an incredible message, again,
Yeah,
back to when we first started talking about, you're going to find what you're looking for. So that night you were looking for fun
yeah,
and you found it. You weren't looking for anxiety and stress, which it seems like your past performances subconsciously, that's what you were allowing yourself to look for. So,
yeah. But it's also a choice. And
yeah,
that's something I also speak of a lot in the book. Um, we think we don't have a choice, but we actually have a choice. Sometimes it's difficult to get to the choice
yeah,
because we disturb ourselves, but we do actually have a choice. And I chose, as you said, I looked for it and I found it, but I also chose to look for the fun.
yeah,
I decided I was going to have fun.
yeah.
We have a lot more power than we sometimes think
Yes, we
in our
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So true. So true. I heard a quote, I don't remember who it was from, but it was like something to the effect of, you can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control how you react to it. And that truly is a choice. Okay. Bad thing happens. Are we going to, you know, freak out about it and, implode, or are we going to just deal with it? And it is a
Yes.
choice.
But then, all yeah, as a sort of add-on to that, which is also something that I've faced a lot in my move here lately now, is that there will come reactions in your life that you do not choose because we do have history, we do stories, we have patterns, we have triggers, but you can actually, once you have reacted, then you can choose to look at it from a different perspective and see, okay, it's still with me. Can I release this now? How can I come to the place that you were just saying, where I choose a different way of reacting to that sort of trigger or whatever it is?
Yeah.
And the curiosity of what's really going on in ourselves is actually also very, I call it a superpower in my book. Curiosity um, is a superpower as creativity and intuition. But if you're curious about what's really going on here, then you're stepping back a little and you're asking a question, you're listening, you start listening. It's the same as a parent to the children. If you're curious, why are we okay? why is he reacting that way? Why is he in panic now? My son had a, and I think I can share this without being too personal about him, but he, after his father had the stroke, he had anxiety attacks naturally.
Mm, yeah.
He was 14 and his father was suddenly, he couldn't speak to him. He almost, we almost lost him, and he was there listening to the drama. And and I tried to help him in all sorts of ways, all the right ways, breathing and talking and sharing and doctor and psychologist and everything. And after almost 3 months, I finally told him, Frederick, I can't take it away from you. I'm so sorry. I can't save you. You're gonna have to find that key in yourself. And boom, he stopped. He said, okay, I'm not doing it anymore. This doesn't have to be me. I take control. So that was so interesting to see. Very, very powerful move. I know a lot of people can't do that, but I gave up and he found it.
Yeah.
Again, stepping back, daring to say, I'm sorry, I can't save you. I'm here, but I can't take it away from you. You have the power. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that that's so important because we do have that choice. And I think it's with anything, whether it's, dealing with addiction, people have to make the choice to want to recover. And so many things in life, like you just have to take that first step. Um, and each step gets a little easier with the next one, but that first step is the one that's always so difficult.
yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it comes to, and I actually talked to my son about that later because a friend of his was suffering from anxiety. And I asked him if I could tell her his story. And he said, yes, you can tell her that, but you have to tell her that the decision has to come, it has to be through and through. So I think that's maybe the longest process, is daring to coming to the point where you dare to make the choice, because we're afraid of letting go of that which we're used to, or that safety net that this, I don't know, whatever the alcohol's doing or whatever it is that you're using to hide or to escape. Um, I think, but the moment you manage to, okay, I want to make a difference. I want to make that choice, whatever it is in your life.
Yep.
um, Then you can
Yeah.
start taking steps. Yeah.
Yeah. Comfort zones can be very
Yeah.
crippling, you know,
And, yeah. But
regardless of
being
what that
kind,
comfort zone is about,
yeah.
crippling. So,
But I want to say one thing, and that's really important as I speak about all this, saying, be kind to yourselves. Be kind in every step, every failure to make the choice. Try and be kind. And I'm reading a book about how important it is to rest right now, actually. And she talks about this voice that we often have where we scold ourselves, and how all the negative reactions and systems in the body that get triggered by that. The moment you shift it, again, a choice, to kindness to yourself, the whole different system starts to be employed in the body, and you start to heal, actually. And remember who you are.
yeah, I love it. That is very important. We are our own worst critics throughout our lifetime, without a doubt. We worry about what everyone else is saying about us or thinking about us, but we really should worry about what we're saying about us and what we're thinking about us, because that's where the harshest voices come from within.
Yeah, definitely. And
So,
would never speak to a friend like that.
no, no, never at all, never at all. So, I'd love this conversation. Is there anything that we missed that you think would be important to the listeners before we start to wrap things up?
Well, I think that kindness was one big thing. And somebody said, imagine if everybody was kind to themselves. We didn't have to worry about being kind to each other or anything, because it would be, um, we wouldn't need it. We would be it naturally. But there's also daring to take a moment to just simply tune in and listen to what makes you feel good. That's the kindness in a way, but it's also curiosity. And I think that's a little bit that's when I feel that we and my clients, myself and the people that I know, when they start doing that, they start touching upon their own qualities and who they really are in heart. And I think we're all actually from love. I think that. And I think we all have access to it in here. And the small steps, a lot of people ask me, how do I get in touch with that? How can I connect to my heart? How can I connect to my intuition? And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a small little nuances, exploring what does that what the sip of water taste like? Does it feel good when you're thirsty? Oh my goodness. I love that. Acknowledging what you love in life and listening to that as your guiding principle. I think that will take you a beautiful place. And you said yourself, when you travel around, you meet a lot of beautiful people because you've chosen to look for that because you know it feels good for you, I expect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is a beautiful gift to yourself. It's self-love.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
need that in our
Yeah. We
world.
absolutely do.
That's what the young people need to see that we can do, I think.
Yeah. No, I
So,
agree with that completely. I love that. So, Emma, how do people find you on the internet? I don't know if we actually mentioned the title of the book at all during this conversation. So we got to make sure we say that. How do they get the book? How do they find your music? And how do they just track you down on the internet?
yeah, well, the best option is to go straight to my website, which is www.emmarowena, so Emma with two M's, and Rowena.no, Norway. And you can find information about the book. The book has not been released yet. It's about to be released this spring now, and it's called You, Me, and All That We Are, Unveiling the Beauty and Magic of Your Life. So there's information about that, and there's also a link to my music there. And I haven't, my album is on Spotify and all the sort of streaming channels. And I have a YouTube channel where I actually do also some live talks, but also meditations, online live meditations and recorded meditations. If people want some guidance in tuning in, they can go there and find it. And that's Emma Rowena 61399. It's on my website. EmmaRowena.no. I still couldn't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. That's why I am too. It's like, look, you want to find anything? I'm not going to go over all my Instagram handles and
Oh,
LinkedIn and all that stuff.
yeah,
Just
because
go to
there's
the
links.
website. There's links to everything from the website. So
Yeah,
great
it's
philosophy to use
the easiest way. Yes,
for
perfect.
sure. So,
Yes.
Emma, that brings us to our final question. As you know, the subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People in Many Little Places, which comes from the opening lyrics of a Michael Franti song, Gloria, which go, when many little people in many little places do many little things and the whole world changes. What's one of the little things that Emma does on a daily basis to make the world a little bit better place?
Smile at people and reflect on how I can be a better example to my son, but to other people that I meet as well. And in that way, ripple out some beautiful energies and feelings.
Love
That's the
that.
daily little things, I think.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And that smile, I think, might be one of my most common answers on the show.
Yeah.
This is like episode 278 or something like that. And I think smile has been, and it's so important, and people don't do it near enough. So I love, yeah, I love that answer. So for folks out there listening, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at journeymymotherson.com. While you're there, pick up a copy of one of my books. Emma, I love this conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love you.
You bet.